Hey, this is Drake here. I was going to make a quick Wulong build video. I'm going to go over a few builds, so I'm going to try to go over them briefly. But they're all very strong builds, but kind of played differently, I guess you would say, depending on how you want to turn it. This is Zerong build, and I think Zerong's probably one of the strongest grace sets in the game. I didn't get one to drop till I hit about 50 miles in the 1,000-mile journey. So I think that might be a prerequisite. Don't hold me to it, but that was the first one I got to drop. And after you get the first one to drop, then you start seeing them drop from any mission anywhere, as long as it's not a armor piece that has a set bonus on it that's not random drop. It's not tied to any particular armor piece. But the main thing you're going after is the strong celestial fire here, and what it does is turn your elemental damage. It doubles it in fire damage. So, I mean, that's really good, and it works really well with ice attack. As you can see, we've got ice attack on every piece. The ice attack, when they get ice on them, they take more physical. It's a physical debuff, but also as you're putting fire on them, they take more ice attack damage too. So, it kind of stacks very well together. And I'm running a ring pommel saber just because turning clouds is a very good martial arts for applying element. For some reason, it does over double element of regular hits for some reason. And also Moonbreak is a very good skill for a large damage burst and a lot of spirit damage at once for those enemies that just don't take elemental very well. And that's about it. And it scales well with your ice virtue, which you want to scale into as heavy as you can, because I'm running an ice build now. A few years ago, you can also run lightning with this because you're scaled well into lightning, but it's just kind of maker's choice. But I prefer ice just because of the sheer damage output. Now I run Bixie with this just for elemental imbued weapon damage, and it's got morale point gain. But that's about it. And other than that, you want elemental imbued weapon damage on your stratagems, on your armor. Morale point gain for 1,000-mile journey because it's the best damage and defense boost you can get, because if you can get 20 morale points above the bosses, you'll just melt them in 2 seconds. And if you're running missions, I would swap damage received for morale point gain out, because there's a morale cap on missions where it's 99 on the 1,000-mile journey. I like to run one piece Ling Bao just for spirit vulnerability. That can be swapped out for anything. And one piece Fuxi for morale point gain. And I'm also running this 6-star because it gives morale point gain. And it's also got martial arts damage, which martial arts damage is best for this build, because for some reason it's the only damage that you can add. Martial arts damage ups your elemental on your martial arts also. So it not only ups your raw, but it ups your elemental too. I haven't seen any other damage type that transfers over like that other than element imbued weapon, and you can't get it to drop on accessories. So martial arts damage is best in class here that I've seen. And I'm running this one because I got power gain upon deflect, which is good to have. It's about 5%. So if you can get one to spend power gain on deflect, power gain on HP recovery, something like that, that's really good to have. And I also like to run one with HP recovery on melee attack damage, at least an A, double A if possible, everything, and martial arts damage. Because once you do your health recovery spell, if you're equal to or above their morale rank, you will heal faster than they can even do damage to you. You can stand toe to toe and just absolutely melt them. But that is basically it. I mean, spells are pretty standard. I run these on about every build. I like this one, the enhanced defense. It gives you, like Lion's Roar does a better defense boost, but this one keeps you from flinching. So you can do your defense and your absorbed vitality, and like I said, as long as you're equal to or above their morale rank, usually you can just stand there toe to toe and take them out, and they'll never even get your life below half before it heals back fully. Of course, ice weapon, you got perfect restoral just for those situations where you think you might get one-shotted by something. And the rest of them just kind of optional. Sometimes I'll run amplify damage. It does give you about 50% more damage, but you take about 50% more damage too. So I would suggest only using this if you're at least 10 morale points above the boss. And I mean, you can use overpower burst, and it basically doubles your martial arts damage on one martial art. Doesn't work too well with turning clouds, but on the Moonbreak, you will see a noticeable difference. And everything else is kind of just maker's choice on this particular build. But that's it for this one. Like I said, I was going to try to keep this kind of short. Now, for some reason, and I'm not going to swap them, in your battle sets, it does not save stratagems, which is super annoying. But, oh yeah, on that set, we're scaled primarily into wood and ice, 200 in each. And 80 for the rest is all into fire element, which is 10 in the others, which you could probably drop that to none. I just kept it as 10 as a base. And as you see, we got 2200 HP, 1014 attack, and on everything else, the defense is pretty decent. Oh, and I forgot to mention, just trying to keep this video kind of short. Anyway, element imbued weapon damage will only drop on light to medium armor. It will not drop on heavy armor. You can't put it on them, so you will have to run. I prefer medium just to get a bit more defense, a bit more physical resistance, and still be able to drop what you want on there. But you can't get it on heavy armor, so it kind of excludes you from building a super tanky build. But that's it for that one. The other one, and everybody's probably already heard of these. I've just put a couple little different spins on them. Now the other one's the Pengu set. And as you can see, you have to run at least 150 in fire to get the Pengu effect to activate. And then our weapon skill is mainly off of earth and whatever that other stat is, 162. I forget what it's called. But Pengu set, if you're not familiar, and we'll just go over it. Whoops. Alright, it does have a good spirit attack damage, and it's mainly a spirit attack build. But what this does is, performing a spirit attack completely depletes your spirit, increases HP damage dealt by the spirit attack in proportion to the amount of spirit consumed. This effect will be removed after performing one spirit attack, and you have to have 150 in fire virtue to activate it. But what it does, you can see it down there at the bottom, as soon as you do a spirit attack, it deactivates, consumes all your spirit. Now, you want to deflect until you get up to max spirit and then hit, and it will hit for this build, depends on the enemy, hit around 16,000 if you're at full spirit with no buffs. Now this is, in my opinion, extremely high maintenance build because it takes a lot of work to really get the damage out of it, but you need Pengu's Grease set, and also I'm running Eli the Warrior of Old 2-piece because of 13.9% spirit attack damage, because you're mainly basing it off spirit attack, and everything else will be melee attack. Now you could spin for spirit attack, which is 14%, so you get a little bit more to get the absolutely max damage out of it, but I prefer to have damage all around rather than just focused on one attack, because you can still do martial arts and regular attacks, on smaller enemies where you don't really just want to wait. But on this one, I like to do damage received, morale point gain as always, and then the other, I was going for as much spirit gain as possible and a bit of divine beast gauge gain. Now this would be better if I could get the false emperor crown to drop with Pengu set for a lock 30% divine beast gauge gain, because this one does benefit from divine beast gauge. But we got this one in there for morale point gain, of course, melee attack damage, and this one's got health restore on melee attack damage, A-, and everything else is just kind of what's on there. And we're running this one for melee attack damage, a power gain upon deflection, and it's also getting that set bonus of 9.4% status accumulation, which is kind of junk for this build anyway, because we're not running any status. Alright, and like I said, it don't change stratagems when you do your battle sets, which I really wish it would, but you want melee attack damage in both of these if possible. But that's basically it on this build, like I said. And as far as spells, you'll have to run a little bit different. Now, I like to run Lion's Roar on this one instead of the other because we have more earth and we can run it. And also, the axe makes you not flinch from taking regular attacks anyway, so you've already got the hyper armor. Might as well just get the extra defense bonus. You'll want to run amplified damage to get as much damage as possible out of your one shot. Focus zone if possible when the boss comes around. And as always, absorb vitality should be on every build pretty much while you're running. Now, everything else is just kind of whatever you want to run. I've got Stone Weapon on there just because I had a space. We got that one on there. Now, this you can hit them with Life Wither too, but beware that when you hit it, it counts that as a hit, even though you don't do any attack damage. And that takes away your Pangu for the 7 or 8 seconds or however long it takes it to regen. And also, on this one, I'm running damage dealt on this one, but I'm running this spirit because when you activate it, it gives you a straight up 30% damage buff on this weapon, and it doesn't work well on the Zerong set because it nullifies your element, so the 30% doesn't make up for the amount that you're dropping. But that's why I'm running this one, because between the damage dealt and activating it, you're getting a 37% damage boost by running this spirit on this build. Now, I got it to hit, and I might make a video on it, but I got it to hit for 45,000 in the training area. Like I said, it's very high maintenance, but it's capable of some very high damage output. And you could run any weapon you want to. All it's just got to have is a Pangu Grace on it. Alright, the last build I was going to go over. It's going to be a lengthy video anyway, isn't it? And this one can be either or. We'll just do this one. But this is just a raw build. And you can pair it with any weapon that you want. This one has a bit more flexibility than the other builds. And it's probably a little easier to get. But we're still running the same Divine Spirit, and I'm not even going to try to say the name of it here. Because, being as it's a raw build, we can activate the Spirit again and get that nice 30% raw damage boost out of it. Now, running on this is 3-piece Fuxi to mainly my morale point gain is always good, but for the 13.9% melee attack damage. And you got to have set bonus mitigation basically on every build. You got to have it somewhere in order to make them work, so just beware. And the other one is the Dominator of High Bay. And what we're getting that for is morale points. We also got damage received down, and we got more melee attack. This is cramming as much melee attack into one build as possible. And melee attack on everything. And also you have to, in order to make it work, you have to run one piece of the Dominator High Bay set right here on your accessories, which is nice that you can get it an accessory. It allows you to stack one more in here where you wouldn't be able to on any other set. But melee attack damage, and this one's actually got morale point gain on it, but mainly just for the set bonus. And this one's melee attack damage, and we got some HP restoration, and we're getting our 8.8% morale point gain. Like I said, it don't change stratagems, but you want melee attack damage on these. Or you can go damage dealt, or you can go spirit attack. Well, not spirit attack on this. Damage dealt or melee attack damage on these. And on your special attacks, or your stats, you're looking something like this. And this would be more, like I said, this should be about 25% more. So, I mean, once you get your stratagem in there, you're running like 141%, 140-something% melee attack damage boost. Where in the heck are we getting element imbued weapon damage from? Oh, that's coming from those. Okay, so that's not counting. Sorry, had a moment there. But yeah, this is basically what you want to look for, and everything else is kind of, your main thing is morale point gain. Now this one's got even better, 110% morale point gain on this one. which is really good. And then you got Power Drop on Martial Arts, Damage Amplification on Martial Arts, Spirit Vulnerability on Wizardry, which kind of sucks, and Divine Beast Gauge. And now this one would also benefit if I could get the False Emperor Crown to drop. It would add another 30% to that, be 43.3% Divine Beast Gauge gain, which would allow you to basically just spam it all the time, or pretty often anyway. The only other thing would just be the weapon. You can put any weapon you want in here with any grace set you want on it. It doesn't really matter. I mean, we're getting nothing from this grace, 30 HP. But I just really like dual swords, and I kind of like the Endless Flowering martial art, but you can use any weapon you want. Only thing you want on it is melee attack damage, melee attack power, and then the others are kind of up to you. I do like to get extra slot. I put more morale point gain in there. And I like to run damage amplification upon martial arts on all my weapons, just because it's like a straight up 10% damage. It's between 5 and 10% damage bonus just from hitting them with a martial art. You can keep it active all the time. And it also applies to raw and elemental damage that they take too. So really good skill to run. But that's about it. I say I would take them to the training ground, but I was trying to keep this video kind of short. I might put out individual videos on them later. Anyway, that's 3 really good, really solid builds, and I'd say the last one's the most versatile. My personal favorite is Zerong, just because you get the elemental flinch out of most enemies within 3 or 4 hits, 3 or 4 regular hits, then just turn straight into your Turning Clouds or your other martial art and just melt them. They usually never even get a hit off. But the other ones are very good in their own respects. But that's it. I was just going to put that out there. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, leave a comment. And as always, thanks for watching.